Mr. Bowtie's Texas High School Sports Machine is driven by Henry Finley and McCombs Ford West, a proud supporter of all area local sports. McCombs Ford West, simply the best.
21 years in the league, and that's my contribution to the NFL. I have a rule about a rarely occurred play named after me, but hey man, as long as you're remembered for something, I guess.
Being ball that crosses the goalpost is a good field goal. So I clicked on the mic and I said, after review and discussion, the ball hit the upright, ricocheted, hit the back extension. By rule, that's a good field goal. Commissioner Goodell, he made a point to, reach out and say, you saved the league.
The reality is they got it right. The ball did hit the curvature. And once we saw it again and again and again, the realization was there that Phil Dawson made that kick, amazingly enough. One of the most bizarre endings I've ever called in my career, and I'm not sure that we're going to ever see it go down like that again.
Hey folks, Mr. Bowtie here. Keep banging home that subscribe button on your screen so that way you can stay up to date on all the great high school and local sports coverage not found anywhere else. And don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Mr. Bowtie 1982. It's fast, it's free, it's ergonomical, and you're going to make my parents think I'm the son that they always wanted. Thank you so much and enjoy the show. UT alum Phil Dawson returns to Austin as the new head coach at Austin Hyde Park High School. 2022 marks the 15th anniversary of the Phil Dawson rule. In 2007, while playing for Cleveland, Dawson tried a field goal to tie up a game in Baltimore to force overtime. The ball hit the upright, bounced off the stanchion behind the crossbar, and bounced out. It was originally ruled no good by the officials, and Baltimore walked off the field thinking that they were a winner. But referee Pete Morelli and his crew got back together. They could not review the play because field goals at the time were not reviewable, so New York could not help them. After a long discussion, they determined the ball indeed hit the stanchion behind the crossbar, bounced out, meaning that the field goal was good. The teams came back out on the field. The game went to overtime, and Phil Dawson hit a more traditional field goal in extra time to give Cleveland the win. Cleveland would go on to win 11 games that year. It's the most wins that they've had since they re-entered the league in 1999, and they've only won that many games one time since. The NFL made field goals reviewable in 2008, hence it will forever be known as the Phil Dawson rule. I had a chance to catch up with Dawson, Morelli, and Ian Eagle, who broadcast the game that day for CBS Sports. Here are their stories.
Three seconds remaining for the tie. Dawson leans into it. Does he have enough? No good! What a finish! It hit the post.
Rejected by the crossbar. I gotta believe he feels the same way about this one. Drilled it right down the middle, a little push into the wind. Watch it hit the bar and then reject it as it bounced back through.
These players have not left the field yet. I think the discussion is whether or not it hit the back portion.
It hit the back portion of the crossbar. It hit the left crossbar and then hit the back portion. We're blowing it up now. Watch it. See, that's the back side of the goalpost there. See, once it hits this, it's already through the uprights.
After discussion on the field goal hit the top of the crossbar, went over and hit the extension on the backside, which in fact is a good field goal. It bounced back. The field goal was good.
How about that?
Dawson's kick is up, and the kick is good, and the Browns win! No replay needed.
One of the strangest endings that you will ever see.
Big game at Baltimore, back and forth kind of game. Comes down to a 51-yard game-tying field goal. hit the ball always goes right to left down on this one end of their stadium there in Baltimore. It moved a little more to the left than I anticipated, and it wound up ricocheting off the inside of the left upright. It then traveled towards the middle of the goalpost, and it didn't hit the crossbar, but it hit the stanchion on the back side of the crossbar. It immediately bounced straight up in the air and somehow came backwards and landed in the end zone. The referees under the uprights kind of looked at each other, and I think because they saw the ball laying in the end zone, they figured it was no good. So they originally signaled the field goal was no good. I'm like, great, I just lost a game against the hated rivals on the road. This is not good. Baltimore left the field. Game's over. If you've paid attention to football at all through the years, you notice that officials are usually the first people off the field. Well, as I start leaving the field, I notice the officials are still on the field and they're huddled up and talking. And before you know it, they make an announcement that they're going to go take a look at this kick. There was some discussion whether the ball crossed the plane of the crossbar, which it did. They later reversed their call and said that that indeed was a good field goal. So now Baltimore has to come out of the locker room. We go to overtime. We get the ball, drive down the field, kick a field goal, and win it. So you go from losing the game and feeling really terrible to 10 minutes later, you're the hero, and that's just the life of a kicker. They caught some heat for reviewing that play because at that time, reviewing a field goal was not allowed. So they caught some heat. I sure was glad they did what they did because it saved my rear end. So I bumped into those guys here and there, future games I played in that they officiated, but I never really wanted to bring it up because I didn't know if it was a sore spot for them, but I sure was grateful they did what they did.
Do you ever think back when there's a review on a field goal, like, hey, I'm part of the reason why that happened? It's kind of like the Phil Dawson rule.
Yeah, 21 years in the league, and that's my contribution to the NFL. I have a rule about a rarely occurred play named after me, but hey, man, as long as you're remembered for something, I guess.
Pretty lengthy field goal. I would say was in the about 40-yard range, but makeable. As a referee, my job basically is to watch the kicker and the holder, make sure no one gets roughed, and it's pretty much a basic play. So I saw the snap, and the kick was off, and I looked downfield, and all of a sudden I recognized that one official signaled incomplete real fast, and the other one, which they're usually mirror each other, didn't do anything, was staring at him. And he just kept staring at him. Well, with that incomplete signal in Baltimore, the whole stadium and the fans thought Baltimore had won the game, because it was a missed field goal. And the ball's laying in the end zone. And it's not beyond, so it's in the end zone. So all of a sudden, 3 of my officials, or 4 of them, left the field. So I'm there, and I've been taught well when I see it looks like a problem. I ran up to the 2 officials to talk to them, and the one said it was a no good official, and the other official explained. He said, no, the ball hit the top of the crossbar, ricocheted down, hit the back extension, and came back in. Now, the guy who signaled incomplete was a Super Bowl official, and the other guy is a Super Bowl official. So, who you going to believe? And as referees, you're put in those spots sometimes where you have to make a decision. This was so unusual that I didn't really know what to do. This is the end of the game. This is a big decision. This is not picking up a flag or something. So I went over to the replay booth, and my replay guy says, I can't help you with this play. So we went back, and the other guy who was so adamant, I know him very well, and he said, I'm not leaving the field unless this is what happened. And I just, went with him. I said, I get, no one can make this up. And the rule is, because of, with cameras on top of the goalpost, they make any ball that hits that would make it a good, and any ball that crosses the goalpost is a good field goal. So I clicked on the mic and I said, after review and discussion, the ball hit the upright, ricocheted, hit the back extension. By rule, that's a good field goal. And I announced that. Then we had to go get the teams and bring them back out in the field. Cleveland seemed to stay there because they kind of sensed something was up. But Baltimore had gone in, and Coach, it was Bellick at the time, he wasn't too happy to see me. So we brought him back out, and we flipped the coin, and Cleveland won the coin toss. And in those days, they only have one possession. They went down, got the ball, kicked field goal, and won the game. So, and then the rule changed the next year where you could review a made field goal, So basically it was one of the rules that I've been involved in that changed the rule for the NFL. You have to go find something that's common sense. And this one, I think the official who ruled it incomplete, he walked under the bar when it hit the top and saw it end up ricocheting. He didn't follow the ball, and he saw it end up in the end zone. So he probably realized this hit and came back in. So he signaled incomplete. The other guy followed the ball through, and he saw it. And, there's no way he would make that up, and the way he said it. And then, it was a funny reaction from New York. At the time, Mike Pereira was the boss. He didn't believe us. He thought we cheated somehow with replay or did something. But Commissioner Goodell, he made a point to, reach out and say, yeah, you saved the league, by doing that decision.
Hard to believe it's been 15 years. First and foremost, time flies. It was such an unusual play. It's hard to believe that the sequence of events took place the way that they did. As a play-by-play announcer, you're locked in on the moment. And anyone that's done football play-by-play recognizes that a game-winning field goal can be one of those moments. Or a miss with no time remaining can also be one of those moments. So in your mind, as you're preparing to call a last-second field goal attempt, those are basically the two options. This was not an option. This was never something that even entered your thought process as a play-by-play announcer. And thinking back on the play, you get the one doink, that happens. You get the second doink. That also happens. It's where it hit. That's what brought all of the confusion. And you're taught as an announcer to follow the officials. They're making the call. So you trust your eyes first, but secondly, you got to go with their call. There was that one moment of hesitation where the two officials looked at one another, and the final call in the moment was no good. The reaction, make the call, heartbreaking loss. Director is cutting cameras at that point, trying to get the best sense of the story. You're really almost conditioned to see winners, losers, winners, losers. You go back and forth, back and forth. Who won the game? Who lost the game? Who won the game? Who lost the game? And in that moment, Cleveland lost the game. But something interesting happened. There was a rather pronounced, extended stretch where the Browns weren't walking off the field and the officials did not disperse. Normally, if a call is final, they're gone. That's it. They confer with one another, and that's it. That didn't happen here. And what took place then is really where it got interesting, because Pete Morelli, in the moment, handled it about as well as you possibly could. Think about where we were 15 years ago. We were told fairly early in the process, this is not reviewable. So that took this down a completely different path. And look, it might be semantics, the way Pete presented it. He avoided going into certain nomenclature that would make you think, oh, he's getting coached, he's being told. The reality is they got it right. The ball did hit the curvature. And once we saw it again and again and again, the realization was there that Phil Dawson made that kick, amazingly enough. They had to get the Ravens, a bunch of them, from the locker room back onto the field to play that extra session where Dawson emerges as the hero. So one of the most bizarre endings I've ever called in my career. And I'm not sure that we're going to ever see it go down like that again. It was that unique and different.